Well, let's get rolling here with some humor to bring us some smiles, chuckles, maybe even a belly laugh or two. Our first contestant, Dan McGill, light bulb moments. Light bulb moment, Dan McGill.
Thank you. No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Have you ever had one of those ideas late at night while you're lying in bed? Not one of those ideas, Greg Scott. No. No, I mean the kind of idea that leaves you buzzing with excitement because you know that if morning could just come quickly enough, this is the idea that's going to change everything. And then morning does come and suddenly we're not quite so sure anymore, are we? Well, apparently there's some science behind this. What happens is, when we go to sleep at night, just before we go to sleep at night, our brain enters what's called super learning mode. And it's when we're at our most creative. Now, the inventor, Thomas Edison, he loved his nighttime ideas, the inventor of the light bulb. And every night, he would go to sleep in his chair, a bit like some of you are doing now. He would go to sleep in his chair holding some marbles. And as he dropped off, so were the marbles, and it would wake him up. And he would jot down as many ideas as he could because he knew that's when he was at his most creative. And yes, apparently there is some truth in the rumor that shortly after visiting his first advanced Toastmasters club, Edison invented the red light bulb. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters. Back in February 2020, I had one of those late night light bulb moments. Lying in bed at 3 a.m., I decided it might be a good idea to quit my day job and become a stand-up comedian. Now, of course, the following day, the doubts set in, so I called up my Toastmaster mentor to see what she thought. Go for it, she said. You'll make a hilarious comedian, she said. I can't wait to see this magical journey of yours unfold, she said. She said no such thing. She was my unpaid Toastmaster mentor. She didn't even answer the phone. But it didn't matter. I'd made my decision. 12 to 18 COVID-filled months later, I got my first gig at an open mic night in London. And it went something like this. Hi. How many Toastmasters does it take to change a light bulb? 100. That's 1 to change the light bulb and 99 to try and find the evaluation form on Pathways. What's that say? You don't know what Toastmasters is? Oh, okay. What about this one? Why did all the Toastmasters stay at home? Because they'd got so used to having high bread. It didn't go well. But afterwards, a lady came up to me. She said, Dan, I would love to book you for a charity night I'm running in London next month. Well, I agreed. We exchanged details. The day before the gig, she sends me a message on Facebook. She said, hi, Dan. I just want to check you're not going to say anything offensive tomorrow. She said, this is a charity for disadvantaged children, and there'll be lots of sensitive parents in the audience. Now, I have a daughter with a disability. Her name's Emily. She's profoundly deaf. So I replied, I said, no problem. I said, I do actually have a deaf daughter and some of my materials about her, but don't worry, it's not offensive. Now that's what I thought I'd typed. What I actually typed was, no problem. I do actually have a dead daughter and some of my materials about her, but don't worry, it's not offensive. Smiley face, thumbs up, wink. I didn't know what I'd said. And she replied, I'm so sorry. That's just the worst thing that can happen to a parent. But I didn't know. And I replied, no, not at all. We've always tried to make light of it. Even on the day we found out. We all went to Pizza Hut. She replied again, "Do you mind if I ask how it happened?" I said, "We don't know." I said, "We didn't even notice for the first 6 months." It was only when we were calling her and she was completely unresponsive, we got suspicious. As soon as I realized my mistake, I made a full Facebook apology. You know the apology we all make on Facebook when we've done something wrong. I said, "I'm very sorry. My account was hacked. Please ignore anything you've heard from me in the last 24 hours. 12 months on, and I'm back at the day job. But I'm still doing the comedy too. I love it. I know I'm never going to be a professional stand-up comedian, of course not. But in a world where everything's about reaching the destination as quickly as possible, isn't it nice to just enjoy the journey sometimes? If you think about it, it's a lot like sleep itself. We don't go to sleep at night just to get through to the next morning, do we? We sleep to rest, to grow, to dream. And those dreams, those ideas, those crazy, exhilarating ideas that can often seem so silly when we wake up the next morning. But what if they're not so silly? What if they just feel it when the sun comes up and we let the self-doubt creep in? What if, just like Thomas Edison, yes, you might be losing your marbles. Or you might also be stumbling across your very own light bulb moment. Why not go on the journey anyway? And that reminds me, I did have another great idea last night, so I'm going to call up my Toastmaster mentor and let her know. Yes, it's a phone as well. Yes. Hello? Yep. It's Dan. Dan McGill. Dan McGill, Toastmasters. Yeah. Oh. Well, you gave me a number. Okay. No, I won't bother you again. No, I'll delete your number. Okay. All right. Thank you, Connie. Yeah. Sorry, Miss Jameson. Okay. Contest chair.
Thank you, Dan. Please welcome Richard Snyder. Secrets of a Long, Happy Marriage. Secrets of a Long, Happy Marriage. Richard Snyder.
By a show of hands, how many of you are married? Thank you. Some just aren't willing to admit it. My wife and I celebrated our 25th anniversary last June. And several friends asked me, "Richard, what's the secret to a long, happy marriage?" Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and anyone who's ever been married or will get married in the future. To be honest, I've never really given it a thought. My wife and I, we've weathered some storms. We're from different cultures. She was born and raised in Mexico. I was born and raised in the USA. So we've had some cultural differences and some language differences. We've weathered the storm. We've celebrated 25 years. But if I were to look at Hollywood, I'd probably compare our marriage more like I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz with their madcap zaniness, working through the language differences and cultural differences than, say, for example, the idyllic marriage of the Nelsons, Ozzie and Harriet. But we've had some good times. And so I came up with 4 secrets to a long, happy marriage. Number one, you need to establish early on, who's the boss? I sat my fiance down and I said, you know what? Hopefully we're going to have kids. And it'll be so confusing if there's two bosses, if there's two messages. So we need to have one boss. I wear the pants. I'm the man. I should be the boss. Well, she wasn't too happy about that. But she came around eventually to the idea. Once I got that, I said, okay, I'll make all the big decisions and I'll leave the small decisions to you. I don't like to brag, but in over 25 years of marriage, I haven't made one big decision yet. But I'm ready. Number two, quit taking it personally. Shortly after getting married, my wife and I went to Mexico to meet her family. Wow, it's a large family. She has 9 brothers and sisters. She asked me, what would you like in Mexico? Is there anything special? Well, I don't generally drink, but I like to experience culture. So I said, you know what? I've never had tequila. I'd like some honest to goodness, authentic Mexican tequila. So one day she said, I'm going to go to the store. Would you like to go? Well, I was thinking, I don't really want to go to the store. I'd like to go for a run. But I said, just a reminder, if you find some tequila, could you get some? Well, she came back a little later, produced the tequila, showed her father. Look what I got for my husband. My father-in-law thought for a moment. Good trade. When I came back about 15, 30 minutes later, my poor father-in-law, he was so despondent. Does this mean we have to return the tequila? Well, I was very upset for a few days. My wife, seeing my sadness, said, "Do you know what this is?" I said, "Sure, it's a Q-tip." "Do you know what it stands for?" "No, I use it to clean my ears." Quit taking it personally. Move on. So number 2, quit taking it personally. Number 3, learn to laugh and have fun. Life is short. My wife and I would go to her Christmas parties, office parties, and she'd introduce me. And invariably they would ask, "Oh, Mr. Snyder, are you an accountant like your wife?" And she would invariably say, "No, he's a no account." Again, my wife is learning English. Well, after a few times, she shortened it to, "This is my husband, a no account." And then finally she decided, I'm going to shorten a little bit more. "This is my no account husband." Well, after that, several times when I would call the office, I could hear them yell, "Syra, your no account husband's on the phone." And everyone laughed. Learn to laugh, have fun, even if it's at your own expense. Life is short. And number 4, learn to compromise. That's what marriage is all about, really. As we were getting close to our 25th anniversary, I told my wife, we should celebrate. Let's splurge a little bit. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, event. We don't know if we're going to be lucky to make our 50th. And she said, "Yeah, you can sure say that again." Well, I said, looking at our cars, and we've had them for a while, why don't we get a new car? She said, "You know what? I've had to put up with you for 25 years. I think I deserve something really special. I've never had a mink coat, something I can wear and go out and glamour and show my friends." Well, I thought about it. I thought, it's true. It'd be nice, but we could still use that new car. So we argued. We went back and forth for a few days. And then we compromised. We got the mink coat, but we keep it in the garage. Now, I asked my mother recently, she's been married to 2 men, including my father, for almost 60 years. I said, Mom, what's the secret to a long, happy marriage? And she said, you know what? In general, I'm not sure I know. But in your case, I can tell you, any woman that would put up with you for 25 years is a saint. So, fellow Toastmasters, secrets of a long, happy marriage, established early on. Who's the boss? Quit taking it personally. Learn to laugh and have fun. And learn to compromise. And if those 4 secrets don't work, do what I did and marry a saint. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Richard. Speaker number 3 will be Judy Van Arsdale. Her title, Leave Out the Nuts. Leave Out the Nuts, Judy Van Arsdale.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. After Grandma died, my grandpa lived alone for about a year. 3 things changed that. First, he lost 10 pounds in about 2 months. Second, electricity service was turned off by the local utility company because he had forgotten to pay his bills. Number 3, he started wearing mismatched socks. Now, Mother decided the day of Grandpa living alone had come to an end. He needed to have roommates. And who else better than us for his roommates? So we all flexed our muscles and went to the next town where Grandpa lived and helped him move. In a matter of days, he was living with us in the spare bedroom. Now, my grandpa had a peculiar things. He moved in with us along with his medications. Now, it landed on me as the oldest daughter of my mother to take on that chore. So twice a day, I would put all his medications into the medication cup for him. Some people are born with the silver spoon, others with wisdom tooth, and some are born with sweet tooth. My grandpa was born with sweet teeth, several of them. And the problem was his sweet teeth never listened to his wisdom teeth. Now, when it was medication time, I would tell Grandpa, this one's for your heart, and this one is for your kidneys, and this one for your arthritis, etc. And he would look at me and say, which one for dessert? And no one ever mentioned getting old required so many pills. And I would look at him like, and he would say, oh, no, not what you're thinking. I am not nutty. I don't need a crazy pill. I'm not a nut. But I believe laughter is the best medicine. Yes. He literally laughed till my tummy ached. And one day, after looking at all the pills in my pill cup, Grandpa said, "I would rather eat broccoli." A secret. He hates broccoli, just like our ex-president, George Bush. Within a week after he moved in, pills started appearing on the floor, under the sofa, and even in his pants pockets. And when I learned to stay and watch him swallow the pills, he would cheek his pills, and his cheeks grew bigger than this. Yes. It was a battle, World War II, all over again with Grandpa. Now, one day, I asked Mother, what can we do? How can we make him enjoy taking his pills? The lifesaver. Mother looked at me and scratched her head, and both of us stared at each other. And after a few minutes, Mother lit up and smiled back, and I smiled back at her. She said, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" I said, "Yes. What are you thinking?" "Same thing." Quickly, Mother went through all her recipe files she had inherited from Grandma and found one with the 5-star on it. So quickly, we rushed down to the local Yum Yum grocery store, bought all the ingredients listed on that 5-star dessert recipe. After a couple hours in saving in the kitchen, we were so proud of ourselves. The moment of truth had arrived. I went down to present Grandpa our newly whipped up dessert. And I offered it to Grandpa. He took 1 spoon of it. I said, "How is it, Grandpa?" "It's good. But next time, leave out the nuts. Leave out the nuts, Mr. Toastmaster."
Our fourth speaker is Suzanne Leonard. First speaker. Please pardon the Jews. Please pardon the Jews. Suzanne Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Can you hear me? Great. I have the report right here. It seems like that this looks like an innocent kind of crime, but it sounds like that there is a foe and there's terror in the cafeteria. In the cafeteria? Are you kidding? Nothing is exciting in the cafeteria. I can't imagine terror, but it says so right here in my report. It says that plaintive cries, embarrassed looks, and defeated desserts are happening right here in our cafeteria, so the custodial staff says. I don't know. The staff the staff says it happens frequently now, and they're spending just a lot of their time trying to right this wrong. Mr. Speaker's Bureau Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and all those in this room, right now, you're going to be presented by our auxiliary staff an envelope. It's Exhibit A. Please don't open it until everyone has it, because here's what's going on, I guess, from this report in our cafeteria. Well, I guess collectively we're going to figure out what happens, why it's happening, and of course, if it's terror in our cafeteria, what we can do about it. I mean, children have to eat. Most of us still agree on that, even though they're picky eaters, they still have to eat. So when everyone has theirs, how are we doing, auxiliary staff? Everyone have an envelope? Right here, Dan, envelope? John needs an envelope? Because in it, you not only have Exhibit A, fellow friends and Toastmasters, you have a problem. Yes, right here in our cafeteria, with a capital C that rhymes with T and it sounds like terror to me. All right, you have permission to open your envelope. Now, in your envelope, you have discovered something that is called affectionately a spork. It's a spork. It's what we give the children in our schools to eat with. Totally ineffective. But I didn't know that it had struck terror in our cafeteria already. Because you see the spork that you have in your hand? Apparently, now we didn't test it before we purchased it, which is many of us do. It doesn't do its job. It's not really a spoon. It's not really a fork. It can't scoop up anything and hold it for long. And it certainly can't bring any kind of meat to your mouth or main course. Because as you'll notice on this spork, it has teeny tiny tines, I think, which is part of the problem. Can't pick up anything. And the well that's supposed to hold the juice that's in the fruit cup apparently is getting on everything but into the mouth. So says the report. Which is why so many of the children are saying to the cafeterian staff as it drips down their front, trying to get to their mouth, please pardon the juice. Well, here's what's going on. We've done some research. Paul Peaver, who is known to take 2 desserts one day, took 2 portions of pears. It was thick syrup. The bees found out about it, those on the playground, and seemed like to buzz around and follow him all day. The report's still out on how many bees buzz Paul Peaver and the pears. Then the tine part of the spork comes up. Take a look at that spork, Exhibit A. Would you want your children or grandchildren to be frustrated day by trying to get their food into their mouths so they could go play in the cafeteria? No, you wouldn't. Let me explain what happens here. Here's the violent part that happens in the cafeteria. Stabbing happens in the cafeteria. Stabbing happens. And then after they have stabbed what they want to get into their mouth, it seems like what's happening is that they're putting their chin on the end of the table, stabbing it, and then slowly moving it toward their mouth and getting it in before it falls off the fork. Most of the time it collects crumbs and other things on the way from stabbing to mouth. So what are we going to do about this? We have thousands and thousands and a big investment in sporks that don't work. How many of you have ever invested in something that doesn't work? Maybe not thousands and thousands of dollars, but nonetheless. So what do? Well, we've instituted spork tutors. Yes, now we pair every young child with a mentor whose job is to make sure that lunch gets to these young students, and no longer are they pleading and saying, please pardon our juice. Now they're being tutored on how to use the spork without being dangerous to themselves or other students. So I would ask you to take that spork. Those of you who have it, and those of you on Zoom, you can get your own spork. But take that spork and try and have a meal with it. And then visit your cafeteria. Sit down. You also can be a spork mentor. It's important that our children eat. Well, most of them anyway. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Suzanne. Mr. David Erickson is titled The Reading Club. The Reading Club, David Erickson.
How many of you, by a show of hands, have fond memories of junior high or middle school? How many of you have some not so fond memories of junior high or middle school? Ms. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I too have several memories, both good and bad, from those days. What I'm here to share with you tonight is one of my favorite memories from junior high. Back when I helped form the Reading Club with 3 other friends from our neighborhood. Now, we all attended the local junior high. We had our math, our science, our arithmetic, and reading, all that good stuff. But we thought there was more to the world, more for us to learn than just the subjects in school. So an opportunity hit. It was me, my friend Mike Stephenson, who lived about a block away, and John and David Thrailkill. They lived catty corner to us on our court. We were over at their house. We liked their house because their dad raised them. Mom was out of the picture. So we had a house to ourselves in the afternoon with no parents around. So one of the afternoons, John and David Thrailkill decided to show us something. They took us to their dad's room, took us to the closet, and lo and behold, this was the start of the Reading Club. I still remember that stack about this high: Penthouse, Playboy, Hustler, all of the best reading materials of the day in the late 70s or mid 70s. We decided at that point to form the Reading Club, and there were several rules that applied to Reading Club. Rule number 1 in Reading Club is you don't talk about the Reading Club. Rule number 2 in the Reading Club is you really don't talk about the Reading Club. Okay? Some other rules formed from this club before we even touched that stack of magazines that were like a sheath of gold looking at us. Rule number 1, everything must go back exactly the way it was. We must have the order correct of the magazines because we all believed in private property rights. We wanted Mr. Thrailkill to be very happy with his magazines and not know that we were there, of course. Rule number 2, only one person was going to touch the magazine and open it and do everything we need to do. We need to make sure we open the pages, no folds, no tears. And if there's any sort of centerfold to open for our amusement and for our learning pleasure, one person would do it to, again, keep everything pristine so we wouldn't ruin anything in that room. Well, Reading Club went along pretty well for about 3 or 4 weeks. About 3 days a week, we'd go over there and we'd have a blast. My friend Mike, he was the best at reading the stories. He would start reading one of the stories in the magazine and he'd emphasize just the right word or phrase. We'd be howling with laughter. We had a blast and we learned a lot too. So one day, Mike decided to forget the rules. You know that rule, don't talk about the Reading Club. Well, we're getting ready to go into the reading club. My little brother's there, Doug, 3 years younger. And Mike says, oh, let Doug come along to the reading club. It's no big deal. I said, no, you don't want him to come along. He's a narc. In our family, my brother had a medical condition and we called it diarrhea of the mouth. So he basically, if he heard it, he was going to say it and repeat it to someone else. Well, Mike was like, oh, don't worry about it. Bring him along. We can have him come to the club. So we go in the room, open it up. Mike starts reading. We're roaring with laughter. My brother turns, runs out of the house and runs home. Like, oh, great. This is going to be fun when I get home. So we finished the reading club that day like we normally did. Come home, open the door. My mom is laying on the couch. My little brother with his sitting on the couch. Sitting on the floor with his back to the couch like an angel with my mom. I wanted to go up to him and I wanted to wring his neck. I wanted to kill him. I didn't say a word. I just wanted to walk to my room quietly so nobody else would hear me I didn't want to say a word. My mom blurts out, oh, so you like looking at pictures of naked women? She said that to me. I didn't say a word. All I did was keep going and walk to my room. One unfortunate incident, though, is my brother shared that same room with me. So I had to put up with him in that room also. So one piece of advice I have for anybody who has a family is have a house big enough so each kid gets their own room. It makes life a lot easier in some ways. So I was embarrassed, but the reading club persisted. We just kept it quiet. Mike didn't open his mouth to anybody else at that point. And so it went along a little while longer. But see, Mike didn't have a problem with Doug because he didn't get embarrassed. It was only me. So now what goes around comes around. A few weeks later, Mike's going to have a camp out in his backyard. We're going to have a tent in the backyard, going to have it set up. And of course, it's so that we can go out and do stuff in the middle of the night. We were not bad kids, but you get into a little bit of mischief and a little bit of trouble. So what's he say? Let's let Doug come along. No. But as Mike's house, Doug came along. Well, we had a stealth mission that night, middle of the night. And I'm not proud of this, but I can tell you in junior high, you think pretty highly of something like this. We decided it was time to go pee on 3 doors, middle of the night. Mike peed on the Thrail Kills door. Doug peed on the Mitchell's door. I was next door with the Spanish-speaking people that we knew, and I just peed on that door. Everything went fine, went through the night, and everything was good till the next week. Go to school, and guess what Doug did? He let the Thrail Kill boys know exactly what happened. He told them how Mike had peed on their door. So then Saturday rolls around, his dad, the Thrail Kill's father, goes over to the Stephenson's house. Mrs. Stephenson has company that day. He said, knock, knock, knock. Well, Mrs. Stephenson, your son pissed on my door. I think you should clean it up in front of company and everything. She was horrified. But the best thing for me, what I got out of it, from my front window at my house inside, I could see him on his hands and knees with a bucket and a brush, brushing off that door and getting the urine off of there. Guess who never got invited again to any other event we did? Not my brother. So now we're going to go back to 40, 45 years ago, and that question I never answered for my mom. Well, my mom's passed away now, but if I had to answer that question that she asked me about the reading club, what I would tell her is, yes, I did like looking at naked women back then. Yes, I still like looking at naked women, and I probably will till the day I die, all brought about by the reading club. Ms. Contest Master.